No matter where we've gone on this calendar for the Indy Elite Series, these guys have put on a fantastic show. We thought Mid-Ohio, with its tight, narrow corners, we thought that race was going to be boring. These guys managed to make it entertaining. There's a whole bunch of passing, a whole bunch of strategy going on. Even Milwaukee, too. We thought that was going to be very single file, but these guys proved that it was going to be far from it. Laguna Seca, known for being a bit of a challenging track to pass, except for the famous corkscrew. We see many people dive it up the inside to that corner. I expect to see quite a few of that, as well as many other passes around the track, as we head to round number 8 of this 12-round season. My name is Finney Dakuna here with Connor Horn. And Connor, as always, glad to have you in the booth with me. Wasn't expecting you to have you in the booth with me for this round. I thought it was going to be Kyle, but unfortunately Kyle not able to stream from his location, so you're going to be stuck with me for another round, but I'm sure you're more than happy with that.
It's alright. It is what it is. I have to be here with you. Really hate to see it, of course, obviously. Just kidding. But I'm pretty excited. It's glad for me. It's fortunate for me to be here. I love Laguna Seca, one of the more fun tracks, and at the same time, it can be a little difficult to pass, but we've seen so many daring passes over the years. You talked about passing in the corkscrew, the famous Alex Zanardi pass. I'd call it a pass of the gods with how insane that was for the race win so many years ago. We'll see if we see any drama like that today.
Absolutely. Here in qualifying, just starting to get underway here. Try to take a look down at the track at the moment. Mitch Welker in the number 16 is getting it done at the top of the charts. And I think this is not too surprising for both of us.
Yeah, I kind of expected him to be up there. He was very fast in practice, worked a lot on long run speed, which obviously you're going to have that to win at Laguna Seca with likely no full course yellows. So not surprising to see him up there. Second in practice, only to Andreas Ike. Another big race for him, trying to gain points on Robert Malechka, but once again, like you said, that 16 of Mitch Welker just ripping through this track so far.
And you see there, you see the famous corkscrew. Doesn't look too bad when you're as a driver, all right? Really from up high. When you're down low as a driver, it is pretty scary, and even from the outside too. You just see these cars drop off a cliff as they climb on down, and then navigate through these corners at a very high rate of speed. One of the fastest cars that really comes to race here at Laguna Seca, the Indy cars. As we see Welker come flying across the line, finish his run. He's been taken out of the lead by this man, Andreas Ike, in the number 76.
Yeah, this could be a big race for Andreas Ike. 106.234. He is half a second clear for the pole speed right now. And Robert Malechka, I'm trying to see. He has not put a time down yet. He's just coming out of the pits to start another lap. Looks like his first lap went badly, so he's going to have to do another run at it. If Malechka starts deep in the order, this could be a big points day for Andreas Ike.
Yeah, I was going to say, we were talking about Ike. He's been trying to slowly claw back at Malechka in the point standings. It's been an uphill climb for him, but he's been making it work. He's able to get a few points, not a whole lot of points last week at Milwaukee, or actually, I should say 2 weeks ago, I think, at Milwaukee.
Yes.
But he was still gained points. He didn't lose points too much. He actually started gaining points, and for the most of the season, it's been slowly expanding. Now it's kind of slowly coming back in. And if Ike can keep that pull, which it looks like he will be able to, Welker was not able to dethrone him. We could see, especially if it's a bad qualifying effort, we could see Ike come home with a handful of points, especially if he gets the win. We talked about we talked about in the past the points for the win worth 50 points, if I'm not mistaken, and then 40 points for finishing in second. So 10-point gap between first and second place. A very valuable position, as it is always a race win, but more so in this series, the way they seeded the points across the line for Malechka. As he starts his lap, this is going to be interesting to see where he's going to end up. Right on board for him, because I imagine he's going to be somewhere near the top if he gets this right.
You better hope so. You do not want to start in the back of the pack at a race like this, really. It's going to be very vital, a very vital race to get to the front, because if Andreas Ike is able to perform well, it's going to be a pretty big point shift, and his outlook on the rest of the season is definitely going to change.
Jacob Oster just saw jump into P6 winner last week in Mid-Ohio. So still doing pretty well on the road courses. Got a little bit of work to do, but more so Malechka, the pressure is on for him as he tries to get a solid lap and a solid run in. Down the corkscrew he goes. Only 2-3 corners remaining. And it's so easy to mess up here. Ooh, gets a little bit of curve, almost gets the car unsettled, but is managing to keep it on balance. He comes through the final corner, has to make sure he doesn't go too wide here. Very easy to do so. Gets in the AstroTurf. That's flirting with it. I think that's good. I think you're allowed to run there, but you have to be very careful doing so. Comes across the line, 107.4. It's not going to be enough for pole, but enough for 7th place for the 91 car.
It's very good, at least close up to the front. He's going to start his third lap. One more lap. He could improve. We'll see if the tires are in a better operating window for this lap. He's going to have to really push to gain over 1 second to get even close to his championship rival, Andreas Ike.
Bit more of a surprise here, Matt Halb, not typically known for his road course prowess. He's no slouch by no means, but usually he qualifies, I think, outside of the top 10, if my memory serves me correct, on the road courses. He's significantly better at the ovals. You usually see him in the top 5 there, but showing some solid prowess is just in the top 10. Got knocked out by Adriano Pinheiro, who's just finished his run, 7th place for him. Go back to Robert Malechka, who's working his way finally down the corkscrew. A little over 2 minutes remaining, more than enough time for him to get a lap down. Fighting the car, you can see the car twitch as it worked through the penultimate corner and into the final corner yet again. A little bit more tidy, at least it seemed so that time through. He's 5/10 up on his lap, so it should put him closer to the front. I think around 5th or 6th place. It's going to be 6th for the 91 car.
A big half-second gain, but really didn't get him much further up. And as a matter of fact, he's actually gone down to 8th on the grid for now. A few other drivers didn't see who beat him, but he's now 8th on the grid. He was 7th after his first lap.
Christopher still out there putting laps in. Is this a flying lap for him?
Trying to check. I don't believe.
Is he just out there running?
No, this is just out there running, just trying to get some practice potentially.
So Stouffer locked into 15th then as it goes. Robert Malechka not going to be too entirely happy with this, especially because his main rival, who's starting to become more and more of a threat, is up in 1st place. Although he's got some solid competition. Mitch Welker, Flynn Lazier, and if I'm not mistaken, I think we saw Flynn last time at Mid-Ohio or Milwaukee maybe. I'm trying to see if I'm getting them mixed up. I think we saw him last at Milwaukee. Or not.
Who would that have been?
Flynn Lazier?
I do not believe he was at Milwaukee.
No, okay. Anywhere else that you see him? If you can do a quick check for me.
I'm not sure how many starts he's made this season. Trying to look down the championship board. I believe this is his first start of this season. Huh. So we'll see what he can do in his first start. Very good qualifying effort, no doubt. P3 on the grid is going to be a great start to his probably short campaign this season.
I think I'm thinking of Joshua Chin. I know we saw Chin show up for the first time last season. I think that may be who I'm confusing it with. We have seen Flynn in the past. He is a normal competitor in IES. Always in the past few seasons. I guess took the season off. Glad to see him back on the board. Not just back on the board, but back up near the top. So really, really strong field up near the top of the standings. Ike, Welker, Lazier, Brophy, Van de Sant, Malechka, Oster, Pinheiro, and Wood carry your top 10. All those drivers very strong on the road courses, so kind of a heads up at the moment for who's going to win it.
By the way, Flynn Lazier was at Iowa, so his second start of the season. He was at Iowa. He did not get the finish. He probably deserved there, though. 26th place did not last that entire race.
Yeah, I think he did pretty well. Did he start near the front there? Because I remember him doing particularly well, at least at one point.
Trying to check myself. Finished around the back. Actually, trying to look. He actually did finish up. Trying to look. It was a while back, the second race of the season, so it's his first start in about 2 months, and he finished 26th after starting 11th. Got a bonus point, did lead a lap at one point, but didn't get the finish that he most likely deserved.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm remembering, is that he was running near the front at one point, but we'll see. Should be able to run near the front in this race, at least get very close to it. We'll see if we'll be able to get it done here. He's got the field gridding up, and we're not going to waste any time because I'm pretty sure it's a short pace lap around here, and the pace lap's fairly short. Memory serves me correct. Try to see, get down on the grid. Waiting for people to actually get on the grid. There we go. Oh, they actually got a full pace lap for them. Alright, so we got some time to work with. But waste no time. We'll try to get through your grid here. Starting on pole, it's going to be Andreas Ike in the number 76, trying to take that car up near the front of the standings. We'll see what he can do and if it could be a big points day for him. Starting next to Mitch Welker in the number 16. Again, very strong road course race to see if he can get his first win in the series.
And then P3, second row, Flynn Lazier, his second start of the season. First start of the season on a road course here at Laguna Seca. Alongside him will be Jason Brophy. He's always very stout at these types of races. He's in the second row, P4.
Moving on back to row number 5, it's going to be, row number 3, with 5th place is going to be Alexander Van de Sant, starting next to Malechka in the number 91. He's got a little bit of work to do. We've seen him climb back up from further back in the road course races, so I don't think it should be too much work for him, but going to have to keep an eye on that car. Moving on to 7th, Jacob Oster in the 09, winner from Mid-Ohio. We'll see what he's going to do from 7th place if he can try to get a second win this season. Adriano Pinheiro in the 56 going to be lined up next to him in 8th place.
Then rounding up the top 10, row number 5, Andrew Wood in that 64 machine. Alongside him will be Brian Carey in P10. Both those drivers, their time separated by only about 200. Very tight times near the front.
Moving on back to 11th place is going to be Matt Halb on the 02. Pretty much solidly midfield in the number 02 car. So we can do Alexis Newsom, actually waiting on her and a few others to get on the grid in 12th place. She's shown some decent ability at most of the tracks, and actually looks like she's not gridding. So that spot's going to be vacant. Moving back to row number 7, we have Craig Forsyth starting in the 13th place. Next to him, David Adams in 00 lined up in 14th.
I do see Alexis Newsom on the grid, so
there she is.
There. And,
it was showing gray on my screen. I think she showed up late.
I guess I don't believe she got that much practice, but pretty fast in practice for the lap she did put down. Now I believe the 8th row, Chris Stouffer is on that row. That beautiful livery, a 108.355 for him in qualifying. Alongside him, the 21 machine of John Downing.
Moving on back, Alexander Ball going to be starting in the 12th car in 17th, with Joe Branch lined up next to him in 18th. Back in behind them, Aaron Rope's going to be lined up in the 26th car in 19th. Chris Cahill lined up in 20th.
A few more drivers. Some of the final qualifiers at the back of the grid. Logan Simmons, 21st place. Wayne Hunter alongside him, 22nd. And then 23rd and 24th placed, the 12th row, Matt Huston, and then the 59 of Evan Adams.
And moving on back in behind them, Dan Ench is lined up in the 25th place position. Next to him, Austin is Speedy, who's actually in here. I'm not sure if Austin's actually running. I haven't seen his name. At least I feel like we haven't seen his name in quite a while. And the 7 car is not gridded. Next to Marshall Stanley. Marshall Stanley lined up on the inside in 27. Next to AJ Musselman, another non-starter. Last guy I see rolling off the grid, it's going to be Mike Ketchell in the 04. I want to say this is a new name. I don't recognize that name at all. Beautiful Pennzoil paint scheme, though. I'm trying to remember the driver who ran it. I think Sam Hordish, if I'm not mistaken, ran that livery in the early days of IRL.
Yes, he definitely was in that one of those yellow cars for sure. It kind of became a staple at Penske for a long time.
Yeah, I remember that was one of my favorite cars to run in the IndyCar Series 2005 game. For anyone that remembers that, that was a classic from Codemasters way back in the day. But we're in the year 2022. We got some much more advanced racing sims out there, especially iRacing, as these guys are ready to get rolling. 20 plus, almost 30 cars lined up here at Laguna Seca, rounding out of the final quarter, and immediately on the gas we go. We're green here at Laguna Seca. Field flying on now to turns number 1 and 2. Mitch Welker getting the jump on Ike, gonna soar around the outside, take the lead. In behind them, Flynn Lazier lined up in 3rd with a tight battle for 4th.
Yeah, it's a tight battle for 4th. That was a pretty big mistake for Andreas Ike to make. Locked up into the Andretti hairpin, and he just could not carry speed. And Mitch Welker's out and away with a pretty clear race lead now.
Not exactly what Ike needed, but he's sitting solidly in 2nd place. Matter just getting his head down, trying to see if he can get that back. Meanwhile, in behind Jason Brophy, chasing down Flynn Lazier. Not close enough to make a dive into the hairpin, but many guys 3 wide. That's not going to work, boys.
Oh, it somehow did. No, not quite. That's Pinheiro off to the side. He's going to be able to save it, losing a ton of time, but I thought that was going to be a 10-car pileup.
Somehow managed to keep it on the track, but lost a lot of positions here. Just try to take a rewind, take a look back at what happened to him. Just a traffic jam heading into the corkscrew. Oh, caught some sand on the right side. Managed to have great car control. It's so easy. And I've seen so many guys try to get back on the gas and get the car straight, and then they ended up wiping out half the field. But great car control from Pinheiro, though it's going to cost him. He's got a lot of work to do back from 17th.
It's going to be a lot to deal with, and one thing we're going to have to look for is the tire compounds and which ones prevail and which ones don't. I heard a lot of chatter over the radio all practice long how the sort of a black compound just wasn't really doing much for them, so a lot of drivers starting on the reds, the more gripped up tire, I would say. I think the farthest up, I guess they would be called the primaries, would be Alexander van der Sant, who's up to the, no, excuse me, Flynn Lazier's on them in the 3rd position. So we'll see how long those can last, see if he can make some moves later in this run.
Yeah, he's probably looking very aggressive in behind him. And Flynn Lazier, as you mentioned, one of the highest starters with the Blackwall tires. So curious to see what he can do with them, and I think that's why Jason Brovey's in behind. He knows he's on the red, he knows he needs to start going and take advantage of them as he tries to break away. Top 2, Welker and Ike on the red tires.
Yeah, they're pulling away pretty much, but obviously that clean air, especially on the first lap, when you need all the clean air when you have the tires as cold as they're probably going to be for the run. It is so huge to get that lead, and Welker was able to do that. Pulled out to about a 2nd lead, pretty much stabilized there as him and Andreas Seca pulled away from everyone else. It's another 2.5 seconds back to Flynn Lazier.
And you can see everyone there on the left-hand side of your screen. You can see Flynn Lazier, Van de Sant, Malechka, Carey. Notable drivers in the top 10 taking the black tires. Everyone else in the top 12 taking reds. So more drivers preferring the reds. Not too surprised, especially jumping out of the gun. You want to be, preferably want to be on the faster tire. Like trailing about a 2nd in behind Welker. I'm curious to see what he's going to do here. If he's going to try to push himself to get that lead back, or if he's just going to be content finishing in 2nd place. Malechka not off to the best of starts, dropped down 2 positions from 6th back into 8th, so he's got dug himself a slight hole. He's got to dig himself out. And again, gonna mention passing, not gonna be the easiest thing. Did say that at Mid-Ohio, and we were genuinely surprised, but it is gonna be tough to do here today. Not too many opportunities unless you're really skilled and just kind of hope that the guy ahead of you makes a mistake.
Yes, this is pretty big for Jason Brophy right now because he's losing a lot of time to those top 2 right now. Flynn Lazier consistently half a second or more slower than Welker and Ike, losing a lot of time, and Jason Brophy can only watch as he can't even really attempt to move on Flynn Lazier into any sort of corners. Those two have sort of broken away from Alexander van der Sant, another car on the primaries, as 88's just dropping like a rock. He can't do anything about it.
Yeah, and this is the tough thing too with that when you're stuck on a different tire straight. You can start to see the same thing too happen behind Alexander van der Sant, also on the black tires. And Oster and Wood in behind trying to catch up. And again, also same thing as Brophy, trying to get past and use the reds to advantage, but they're kind of stuck in behind. Ooh, a little bit of a lockup. You saw Oster with a big dive, made a lot of ground. Not quite able to make a move though.
Hopped over a little bit of a curb there as well, loses that time pretty much back before they get into a final corner. Just got to figure out some sort of way to set up a corner, maybe get a run into Andretti hairpin, maybe right here. Decent run on van der Sant, but van der Sant also has slipstream as well. Oster's going to try it, maybe. Got to kind of hustle to try to make these moves. He's got to run, he's going to look to the inside.
So he's going to try to not dive too deep, but dive deep enough. He's definitely going to be frustrated if he can't get by, and is able to do so in the Andretti hairpin. Will move up into P5 and set his sights now on Brophy still, who's held up by Flynn Lazier.
Yeah, very bold move there, but that's what you have to do. You cannot be stuck behind someone on a less grippy tire. That's the way I would put it. If you cannot get by them, you're going to lose way too much time, and you're pretty much going to be out of a race for any decent finishing position. So once you have a run like that, you really have no choice but to try to make a move.
So I saw Logan Simmons get past Aaron Roos heading down to the Andretti hairpin. John Downing also close to missing the corner back near the front. These guys giving a solid fight for position. Lazier just out there minding his own. Oh.
Brophy almost lost it there. That was close. He almost binned it right there, but a great save.
Yeah, and I kind of just saw him disappear behind the bridge. Whoa, great car control right there.
Oh, another pass behind. No, Andrew Wood just taking a look, trying to get by van der Sant as well, but can't do it there. Still trying to take looks there. And now these guys might get held up by Brophy a little bit. Those tires are going to be pretty much dying how hot they're going to be. So we'll see if he can recover.
Yeah, like you said about what guys are talking about in practice. So looking at these guys, it seems like they were trying. It seems like the guys were trying to stay on the reds for as long as possible. I think they're only going to be on the blacks for a short period of time. This is actually the interesting thing too, because in the upcoming update for iRacing, they're actually changing it so now the system, because at the moment what they're doing, that the admins are enforcing this rule, they have to go through the replay, make sure everyone actually changes tires at least once, but soon it's going to be automated coming next build. Ooh, you see a little bit of guys go off the track. Van de Sant going to be offline. Here comes Andrew Wood, easily going to take advantage of that and into the corkscrew.
It's a big break for Andrew Wood there to get that position pretty easily. Didn't really have to lose much time battling, so he could maybe set his sights, get a little bit closer to that 09 of Jacob Oster.
Yeah, and Oster heading away. But what I was trying to say earlier is that, yeah, these guys do have to change at some point, and it's going to be mandated in the future. They're going to have the sim, they can choose to let the sim decide to make them change tire compounds. So they're, so I think we're going to see some guys just try to go on the blacks for maybe their last stop. Looking like guys can go around 20 laps on a tank is what I'm hearing. 2021 laps on a tank of gas. I'm curious to see the guys on the blacks. They're probably going to extend that all the way. I mean, how would you cut this up? I guess what, 17? Is it what, 17 laps or so? Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, if you were going to do it evenly, yes, for sure. But I haven't really seen much fall off on the tires. So overcut, usually, as we've seen in IndyCar, maybe the overcut might be more of a viable option because you don't really lose too much time, and you probably, you'll be in cleaner air if you stay out longer and all that. And if someone pits, they might get put in dirty air and get set behind drivers that they've been in front of the entire race. So an overcut might be a very lethal weapon for this race.
Mitch Welker up in the front, trying to get home his first victory in this series. Has made a few starts and been up there quite a few times. Has been in contention a few times this season to get the win. Hasn't been quite able to step on that top step of the podium, but see if he can get it done here. He's doing everything he needs to do. It's a matter of if he can finally get the finish. In his last starts, he was at Road America, started 8th, finished 29th. Then at Iowa, started 24th. I remember him climbing up to the top 10 and then unfortunately meeting an early end to his race back there and ended up retiring. Or actually, no, he ended up finishing that race back in 23rd.
Still waiting to see if these primaries come into their own. Flynn Lazier, actually last time by Flynn Lazier was faster than Ike, but I think Ike just had a big moment. He was still close to a second slower than Mitch Welker, who's opened that gap for the lead up close to 3 seconds. So still waiting on that transition point.
Flynn Lazier pretty much hovering around looking at his pace. It's just about where he's been running all race. Welker starting to see maybe a little bit of drop off, about 5/10 down this lap coming to the line. So you can see the reds starting to fall off. Guys in the blacks, looks like they're maintaining their place pretty well. Van de Sant, I see pretty slow, 3 seconds off the pace. I think dropped some positions. So he is down into 9th. Yeah, he definitely dropped some positions as Maleshka and Carey now up into 7th and 8th respectively. And Brian Carey on the button. You see push passing green on the steering wheel. It's going to be close enough to make a dive. They're going to have a look up the inside. Maleshka going to defensive on the outside lane. Carey going to sneak his way on through. Will he be able to get cleared by turn 3? Indeed, he does. Gets a great launch off the corner.
Very big pass for Brian Carey. 7th position for him. Trying to look at this train for 12th place. Christopher, Pinheiro, David Adams, these guys are all over each other right now.
Look at Christopher, who's kind of just Ike ahead of this. Meanwhile, Pinheiro, the Pinheiro train in behind. Adams, Ball, and Halb all into trying to get past the orange machine. The 56 who we saw fall down to 17th is back up to 13th. So he's been making some solid progress despite falling into an early not death spiral, but fell off the pace a little bit and had that spin, so he's starting to come back here, and actually starting to come back. Christopher. Ooh.
Whoa.
Adams, not sure that was a dive, one of those dive attempts, or if that was him missing the braking point, trying to make sure he slowed the car down enough.
Maybe you can brake from deep, but I would not do it there, especially lap 9. I don't think that was a pass attempt. That was almost a oh crap attempt, if anything, right there.
Bit of a lockup as well from Pinheiro, who's really, really hauling, trying to catch Christopher. There you see he's been able to push past. Should be able to get a solid run here. We saw Carey do it the lap before. Big dive to the inside. Stover don't think going to put too much of a fight. And Pinheiro up into 12th place.
This is the man that was exciting us all race at Milwaukee 2 weeks ago and was just pulling off moves that no one else could pull off. Almost sort of similar maybe to what we're seeing this week, as he's getting pretty close to flirting with the dirt on exits of these corners, but right now he's looking to be just as exciting as he was 2 weeks ago, up to 13th, not trying to slow down, but he's got a long way to go to get back up to the next position.
Ooh, yeah, I was going to say, I just saw him enter that corner, and it looked offline. Indeed, it was going to lose one, maybe two. Adam's not going to take advantage, but take a look at what happened there. I had a feeling as soon as I saw him turn in, it's so hard, this corner. You have to turn in exactly the right time. You make a mistake. There you see him just turn in a little too early, tried to take the corner shallow, and went off the track. And all that work, we saw that fantastic pass on Christopher, all for naught. Though might have a chance again. Gets on the sand, and man.
Yeah, okay, back to square one.
Yeah, exactly, back to square one. Actually, -1 as we see David Adams get past him. So, Benito's got some work to do, but definitely looking to be a pretty solid car, but just doesn't have the track position to really work with him at the moment.
It's really what we saw last at Milwaukee as well. Didn't have the best qualifying ever. He spent all race basically trying to get up to a position to fight for the lead, and he finally gets to fight for the lead, and he was on the wrong fuel strategy, ends up not getting the finish he might deserve. Qualified better this week in 8th, but obviously dropped back because of the corkscrew incident.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh! Who was that? Was that Lazier? No, it was Jacob Oster.
Oster in the 09 machine. We'll take a look at what happened to him, because that was a wild ride. Just riding on board in behind with Andrew Wood. Oster went through. You can see a bunch of dirt's been chucked mid-corner.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. And just lost it. I think just maybe put a little bit too much turn into the left, tried to veer the car back to the right, but the grip wasn't there. You have to be so careful where you turn in the course, because all the undulations in the track can really upset the balance of the car. And we saw Oster there struggle with that as he went back into 6th, now trying to just hold off Brian Carey in 7th.
Yeah, that's going to be a big point. That corkscrew, so much dirt and dust is already there, and we're only 12 laps in, and we got, 38 laps to go, so that's going to hurt a lot more for these drivers as the race goes on, because more and more drivers are just going to be extending that further.
There you see the gap visually between Welker and Andreas Ike. Two drivers trying to chase down one another. Well, really, Ike trying to chase down Welker. Welker just trying to break away. And both of these guys are pretty much in a league of their own. There you see is Flynn Lazier 7 seconds back from Ike and 9.5 seconds overall back from the leaders, enjoying his run. Fairly quiet run in 3rd place, as he's got Brophy. He's edged out. Remember, we saw Brophy chasing him down. I think Brophy used up all of his tires because he's not running as quick as before, at least on Lazier's pace, which has been able to be a lot more consistently quicker than the 88, who's trying to catch back up to him on his red tires. Woohoo! And a little squirrely on the brakes there.
A little squirrely. It might seem a little squirrely to us, but that's pretty much, new change of pants time if you're Jason Brophy.
You can tell, you can hear it in the revs too, and most people who drive IndyCar know that was a little bit more exciting than he would have probably liked heading down into the hairpin. But Brophy, the great driver he is, made that look like it was nothing. I'm sure he doesn't want to do that every single lap. Andrew Wood in behind trying to chase him down. Actually, looking at the last lap times, they're about a 10th or so quicker than Brophy, so slowly catching him in.
Still looking at the times from Flynn Lazier, 108.7 last time by. He's still 3/10, 4/10 slower than Mitch Welker and Andreas Ike. So even still, these red tires are able to extend further than I would have anticipated. And the primaries, they're just really not coming into their own. And it's going to be bad because the fuel's not going to last too much longer.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that, considering these guys are going to have to make 3 pit stops, right? If I want to double check the information I got from Andrew Wood, who we're just riding on board with. Again, love Andrew giving me this information every single week. 19 to 21 laps is the fuel stint. If you can save, you can get to 21. 19 the more realistic number. So about 5 laps time, we're going to probably see a lot of these guys ditch on a pit lane. Remember, I was talking about around 17 or so laps is going to be maybe ideal if you want to break this up into 3 sort of equal stints, which I imagine we're going to try to see the guys in the red do. Or maybe they might try to extend the last one in the black. So have to see. This is kind of the interesting thing with the tire strategy. He's not necessarily cutting out the pit stop, but like you see in Formula 1, but more so trying to see when you come in, how long you stay on a particular tire, especially the leaders too. We're going to see if maybe on Ike is planning something different. I imagine for him at this point, he's going to have to try something a little bit different than Welker strategy-wise.
I would think, but at the same time, what can you really try? Undercut doesn't seem too viable. He ran a 1.8 1:08 last time by, and I suppose it is maybe a second off his last time, but that's not going to be enough because the fall-off kind of levels out at around a second. So he's going to need to undercut him by 2-3 laps, maybe 4.
Here we go. Van de Sande using push to pass, trying to catch up to Malechka. Going to have a look to the left side.
Wow.
Malechka going to pretty much just let him on by. Oh, no. We're going to do an over-under. Van de Sande going way too high. Gets a decent one off the corner. Side by side for these two, and Malechka going to back out. He's falling back to 9th place. I'm really curious to see what Malechka is doing here. Maybe just, I'm not sure if he just doesn't feel the speed. He's just trying to make sure he gets to the end of this race and kind of just let his competitors on by. It's interesting stuff considering how fast we've seen these 91 car at all manner of tracks all season long. Slowest we've seen him been in quite a while.
Yeah, just not really showing enough pace right now. He was trying to see, he was about, I think, 8th place in practice, qualified 6th, and now he's running 8th. So it's pretty much, hasn't been a bad race by any means, but just not the speed we're accustomed to seeing from 91. Expect to see him top 5, maybe battling for the race win, let alone a podium. But just doesn't have that it factor so far in this race. I don't think he can really try any other strategy. He'd have to pit right now to make up anything.
There's the pass from Andrew Wood. Big dive into, I want to say, turn number 5. Was able to get by Jason Brophy, so Wood up into 4th place. I think taking maybe a little bit better of his red tires than Brophy. Brophy not completely falling off yet, but slowly trickling him back to the other drivers in behind, or Wood just a lot more consistent on these red tires. I guess is probably the more accurate assessment. But the field really starting to spread out near the top. I mean, top 2 pretty close to each other still, 3 seconds. Flynn Lazier 10 seconds back. Wood, Brophy around 15 seconds, and carrying everyone else 20 plus seconds back. And we're only 16 laps into this race.
See, lap 16, I saw Dan Ench did pit, and he's back on track, but he was 25th, so not going to do too much there in terms of strategy. Won't bring really anyone in. Welker's by the pit lane. Wayne Hunter from 23rd place is in. Matt Halaba's been lapped. Everyone's still staying out. Maybe everyone, I mean, we talked about how the overcut can be lethal. You might not want to do that undercut because of that, so I don't know how many people are going to want to try that.
Yeah, I think the big thing where we might see guys, especially if they're stuck in behind someone, like we were seeing guys earlier, guys like maybe Jason Brophy at the moment, especially with his tires starting to fall off, maybe come in a little bit earlier than some of your competitors try to do, not necessarily an undercut for the tires, but get yourself in cleaner air.
Yeah, you have to really pay attention to where you would come out. That's something where Formula 1 data would come into play if you knew where exactly you were going to come out of pit lane. I suppose even NASCAR has that data now,
yeah.
But it's just a thing of racing.
You mean the Formula 1 data where they have 20 people in a room all crunching the numbers for that?
Yes, you need an entire team for this. It takes this stuff to be able to strategize, but it would help for sure if you had a widget or something like that, because there's stuff like that that works for iRacing, but nothing like that. You kind of just have to guess, or maybe try that, test it out in practice, see how much time you lose to drivers behind you in practice, and then maybe you can formulate a strategy to take with you.
Yeah, it's actually it's pretty much exactly as you said, what you need to do. There are some computer programs that out there that will give you, helpful racing tools that'll do the math for you for the most part. I think if you put the number in, or give it something to work with, it'll estimate how much time you'll lose and kind of show you where you'll end up position-wise on the track.
Jacob Oster is the first one to hit pit lane from near the front of the pack from 7th he will pit. This is lap 17 though, so it's exactly where you would think you'd pit. He's
been running pretty well too, so I'm curious to see where he's going to end up. When he comes back out, going to be off the red tires. Let's see, or will he stay on them for another stint? Up on the jacks he goes. Onto the blacks he comes down on, so new tires.
Joe Branch from 16th comes in. See how many drivers this might bring in. I think the guys at the front won't really react, but guys who are maybe right in front of the 09, Brian Carey, Van der Sant, Jason Brophy, maybe they might think twice about this potential move. No, Mitch Welker's going to come in.
Yeah. So interesting timing there. I mean, I guess this is, again, we're looking right about on the fuel limit, around 19-20 laps. So we're looking where most guys are going to end up fuel-wise. Andres Ike going to stay out an extra lap. Not necessarily in the dirty air, but I guess trying to see if maybe he can do a slight overcut on Welker. We'll see what he does. Andres Ike, sorry, as you mentioned, Flynn Lazier is going to be coming in from 3rd place. Here to see if he's going to switch under the reds, because most of these guys near the front are going to be switching onto the blacks. Welker on the blacks for him.
John Downing spun on pit road right in front of Flynn Lazier. He'll back it up, get out of the way. That was odd. I think he was coming out of his stall there.
Oh, yeah. It's one of those things you think you can just kind of floor it when you have the pit limiter. And here you see. down and get his car corrected, and out on away he will go out of the pits. Trying to see where Welker has ended up with the pit stops, up into 7th.
Down and went wide on
Oh,
pit.
Welker!
Oh, Welker! Into the tire barrier! Out of the race! Unbelievable! What's happened here?
Cold tires, man. You know, when you're running so many laps on the warm tires, it just seems like you feel like you can just kind of go at your pace, and especially remember the black tires too. These tires are really hard to warm. Yeah, just completely lost traction in turn number 2 and into the tire. That car is going to be next to done. I think he can limp it back, might be able to do something, but yeah, he's just kind of
there. He's
done. Finally resets the pit lane. Well, that is exactly what Andreas Ike would have liked. Absolutely not what Welker would have wanted, because he, again, such a good run. Unfortunately, the cold tires, if you're not careful, they catch you out so quickly.
I was about to note, John Downing kind of went wide on pit exit, and all of a sudden Welker's into the tire barriers. Unbelievable. A lot of drivers pit that time by. I know Alexis Newsom last time by pit. Brophy, Carey, Malechka's in, Van der Sand's in, along with who is likely going to cycle to the race leader, Andreas Ike, which is a big moment for Ike in his championship fight. Yeah, and looking virtually uncontested. His next competitor is Flynn Lazier, who we saw notably behind by about 9 seconds back from Ike. So Ike, as long as he continues what he's doing, he should be looking good. Here's actually Flynn Lazier coming out on track now on the red tires. Caught up a little bit to Andreas Ike. He's around 8.5 seconds back, but it's going to be a long road for him to try to catch back up to them. Andrew Wood, looking at him, working through the corkscrew, away he will go. I imagine going to be pitting this time too. That car going to be starting to run on fumes. Actually, himself and Adriano Pinheiro, last driver's coming on down. There goes Andrew Wood surrendering the lead. Pinheiro working his way now, heading towards corkscrew. Man, he's been flying through some of these corners dangerously quick. And into the corkscrew he'll go. He's been pushing the limits of the primaries for sure. Oh man, he's wiggling out of every corner possible. Every corner you can wiggle out of, that's what he's doing. I don't know how those tires have made it 20 laps with the way he's driving it, but it's been exciting. He's not going to waste another lap out there, though. Yeah, I imagine I'm curious to see what he's going to do, if he's going to change his strategy with that. Let's take a little quick tire update. Actually, we'll actually wait on that until everyone comes on through. Andrew Wood coming out of the pits now. Pinheiro coming in. I'm curious to see what he's going to switch onto. I imagine he would switch onto the reds here, especially because he did a really long stint. Some side-by-side action in turn 1. Malechka and Jacob Oster side-by-side. That's for position. Both those drivers have pit. Whoa, boy. That's and touching wheels also, just for a little bit. And here they go side-by-side. Malechka now not giving up. We've seen him the one to yield for most of the corners. And Oster almost goes off the track with some contact. Malechka going to solidify himself in 7. I think he saw that what happened to Welker and knows that Ike's been getting a lot of points and knows he has to make them up. You see there was a start of that. Heading down into turn number 1. Great battle for both these two guys. Yeah, great job hanging on the outside. Very tough to do in that part of the racetrack, obviously, but he's able to make it work. Oster, I think, had a little bit warmer tires trying to make the move there. Couldn't make it. Alexis Newsom is now next up to try to get a crack at Malechka. Not sure if she will be able to get there. That is for 8th for the time being. Yeah, so taking a look on the left side of the screen, there's the updated tire list. Most of the drivers staying on the reds in the front. Andrew Wood going onto the blacks. We've seen Flynn this year. He shifted onto the red tires. Who else? I think Brian Carey, was on blacks. Definitely no Malechka was on black tires. He switched onto the reds finally. Trying to remember anyone else from the top of my head. Jacob Oster, he switched onto the black, so he's going to be a little bit off pace for now. He's going to, I guess, go on his long stint. Ike putting in a very solid lap times. He's 7/10, 8/10 up on his lap at the moment. He's going to run into some traffic. Might be a little bit slower than he would like, but he's flying out there. Completely different race for Ike at this point. Not really trying to chase down the race leader. You're just pretty much maintaining the lead at this point. No reason to push or anything. Flynn Lazier hasn't really been faster than them all race, albeit they haven't been on the same tire compound until this run, so we'll see what the pace difference is this time. But Ike has a lot of ground to work with, no reason to rush through the lap traffic, and Aaron Roos, lets him by, and Matt Huston also will give him the inside into turn number 1. It was looking like he might have been able to get his best lap. Had to slow down the last 2-3 corners due to lap traffic, as he mentioned. Gets around both of them. David Adams, big damage to the front of that. From 12th place, he will exit this race. Him on the side of lane. Oh, this is actually before. Oh, there we go. Out of turn number 2.
Seems to be one of the troublesome spots here in the middle part of this race. Oh, caught the sand on the exit. Into the wall he goes.
Big hit on the right front suspension.
Yeah.
That's going to be your day in.
So Adams is going to retire back into 21st place. There's Andres Ike, 7 seconds back, closing 7 seconds back. It's Flynn Lazier. Not out of this just yet, but he's been putting in some really solid lap times.
It's going to be hard to sustain, though. How hard is he really pushing the alternate tires right now? And are they really going to last that long? Ike's probably just nice and smooth, no reason to push like we were talking about. And it's probably the 3-car Lazier who's really having to give it everything he's got to have a chance at this one.
Just about halfway through this race. And I feel like the action only going to start to tick up here. Seen a few pretty crazy passes here. The field starting to spread out just a little bit. Take a look at Malechka back in 7th place. He's been swerving through people trying to make up some ground up, but with Ike taking the win, I would be still a little bit nervous.
Yeah, I don't know about nervous, but this is definitely going to be in the back of his mind after this race, I would say. I don't know how much he'd be focusing on it right now, but right now, 1st to 7th, trying to remember off the top of my head the race result difference as far as point.
I got it right here. I was actually just looking at it right now. So correction from what I said earlier, it's not 50 for first, 40 for second. It's 60 for first, 50 for second, still 10 points. 7th is going to get 36 points, so that cuts it down by 24 points. 24 points, I think.
Oh, yes, 24, excuse me.
24 points. That's going to cut that lead in almost half. He's at 49 points back now. Entering this round, it's going to be cut down to 24. So, big points shift. Again,
25.
don't entirely expect Malechka to stay in 7th. Might be able to gain 6th, maybe up to 5th. Still, though, that's going to be at least 20-something points out of his lead, going to Ike, who's starting to pick up some steam in the later part of the season.
Malechka had a pretty big moment in the second to final corner, but he was able to catch it. He's on his own in 7th, but as it stands, it would be down to around a 25-point lead. You add a pole position and most laps led, that's going to be an extra 4 points. So really, as it stands right now, it'll be cut down to 21. It's a pretty big swing. If you're Malechka, you cannot have any more of these types of races.
Yeah, he really can't. And, you know, we were thinking again with the dominance that he's been showing earlier in the part of the season, it seemed like he was going to run away with it. I mean, he's been consistently fast. Hasn't been quite dominant in the wins column. I mean, only 2 wins this season. I think he's actually the only driver to win multiple races. We've had many other one-time winners: Tony Schoen, Jacob Oster, Pablo Diaz-Francis, Adrian Pinheiro, Joshua Chan, of which have all won at least 1 win. Malechka, the only driver to win 2. And
Spinner. Excuse me, Spinner. Sorry, I was right in front of Malechka. Is Logan Simmons sitting out of a corkscrew.
Yeah, stuck in behind the camera shot there. See if you can catch what happened to him. He's been there for a while.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Still sitting there live as well.
Where he goes to the corkscrew right there. I would have thought he was waiting for traffic, but I mean...
yeah, I think he is.
I mean, I feel like a red light in an intersection would have gone. Turned to green by now. He's still waiting.
He's taking too much time right now. Here comes Ike, the race leader. He's going to pull out in front of him. Probably couldn't have picked a more inopportune time to pull out, but it didn't really affect Ike at the end of the day.
Take a look at how Ike saw that.
Not pleasing to see, I would say.
Definitely not what I will want to see going through that corner.
I'd be panicking, if anything. By the way, battle for 7th. Alexis Newsom, I believe, just got that position from Malechka. I believe she was behind.
Oh, yeah, she was.
Got that position.
He's down on this lap. Curious to see what caused that. Oh, here's what caused it right here in the final corner, a little bit wide. She's chasing him down and able to scoot on by on the front straightaway. They come to the team corner again this next lap. Oh, and she's flying on through a little bit sideways on the exit for her, but able to get the power down and scamper away from Malechka, who's now back in 8th.
That would put his points lead down to 19, I believe. So not getting much better.
He definitely needs to start going in the right direction. Again, it's not going to entirely raise his points lead, but it's going to put a big dent in it.
It's a big chunk. I mean, he's been working all season long to build up that race, that points lead. He was up to 59 points. Not the best week in Milwaukee. He went down only 10 points to 49, but this is such a huge swing for this championship race, and it's just not really what I expected, to be honest. It's very shocking, but it could change just like that. We've seen it before.
I really don't want to say too much more for Andreas Eichel. I just don't want to jinx him at this point. It's been a long time coming. I'm just going to keep it at that. I'll save the rest of it for the last lap. So we know that he's going to be very much in the clear. Trying to take a look here. Anyone else close in battle? Jason Brophy, we saw him. He's trying to chase down Andrew Wood. Wood now inherited third place. Brophy back in fourth, only 2 seconds in behind. And Brian Carey has had a fairly quiet day. He's been marching his way up through the order, up from 10th to 5th. The Canadian's been making a charge. I think he's also catching. Seems like he's catching Jason Brophy.
He did last time by about 3/10.
See, I can't see what Brophy did last time because I think he lagged, at least on my end, and it looked like he did a subhuman lap, actually sub-light lap of 4 seconds.
I think that's not gonna pass tech, but you know.
88 car to the hauler. Full inspection.
Of a hauler, you're not allowed on the track again.
As he works his way through the final few corners, you see Wood, Brophy, Carey, third, fourth, and fifth. Van de Sande not too far behind these groups of guys as well in sixth place. Not too much movement for him, starting fifth down to sixth, so pretty much running in the same place the entirety of the race. Where's Adriano Pinheiro, actually? We saw him, he was charging up through the order. It seems like it's slowed down now, up into 10th. Not too bad, all things considered.
Almost threw the car off the cliff into out of the corkscrew a few times, but 8th to 10th, that doesn't really tell the whole story. It could have been a lot worse. Still,
yeah,
solid top 10.
Doesn't tell the whole story of him. I thought that was a lockup. I think I should just went through some. Was it a lockup or was it sand?
That was a lockup. I don't think there's much sand in turn one yet. Not as much as out of a corkscrew, obviously.
Well, a lot of sand in quite a few corners of this track, but
it's too much.
Definitely a man that is hauling, trying to push these tires to their limit. We saw him pushing them to the limit on the primaries too. He's on the reds now, and arguably should be faster.
Trying to look at the times. He ran a 108.3 last time by. It was actually faster than I believe what Andreas Eichel ran, so he's still got a bunch of speed, just has got to control it a little bit more for these longer races. Much faster than Jacob Oster last time by about 1.5 seconds really, so he's catching up to that 0.9 for that position.
And Oster, remember, on the black tires, trying to just coast that car through this point of the stint. And honestly, it doesn't seem like the blacks are too terrible of a call. I mean, I guess it really depends on the driver and how confident they feel, and if they have the pace. And also really, too, just getting these tires off the temp. That's the big thing. I mean, we saw with Welker that these tires are stone cold coming out of the gates, and they're going to remain cold for at least another lap or two, and then they kind of get into a decent temperature range to kind of start pushing a little bit. But it takes a little bit while. The red tires turn on fairly quickly by comparison, and that's the big challenge for Oster. And it doesn't look like he's liking these tires as much. Again, it is mandatory to change tires, but probably can't wait. I imagine it looks like he can't wait to get off because he was running pretty well at the moment. I think as high as what, 7th?
Yeah, he was battling for 7th with Malechka and Newsom earlier, but they'd fallen off about 2 to 3 seconds off of Malechka and Newsom. Speaking of that battle, Newsom's back behind the 91 of Malechka and by a fair margin as well, so not sure where the mistake happened, but that battle's changed hands. Yeah,
it definitely has. So Malechka back up in 7th, but he's going to be there for quite a while. The next guy ahead of him is 11 seconds and change up the road. That's Alexander Van de Sande 6th. And you can see the gap between the two right there, so Malechka's got some work to do. I thought I may be able to gain some more spots, but with the gap expanding, I think that mistake was really costly. And if he makes any more mistakes, it's going to be even more costly to him. So yeah, I think at this point, he's probably just thinking he just wants to finish this race, get on, can't wait for the next round, which is heading to Texas. I have mixed feelings about that.
Everyone does. we said that about the fuel race there with Xfinity cars, and that was probably the best race of that season, so you never know.
I still can't believe it was. I mean, having driven it in that particular race, that it drove horribly. Couldn't stand it. I think that was one of the first races I did at the new tech, so I guess I wasn't adjusted to it, but I honestly don't even want to try to adjust to it because I absolutely despise it.
Only imagine how the next-gen NASCAR Cup Series car would handle there. In real life, you might see half the field wreck. I
want to say it's better than what we have now, but well, I don't, what we had before, sorry, with a little bit more horsepower maybe, but I have no clue at this point how it's going to race. I'm curious to see how it's going to race for these guys. I would hope it would be a pretty solid event, but after that, though, we got Gateway, Long Beach, and then the Indy 500 itself, Crown Jewel event for these guys. Definitely a really solid 3 races to finish this season on, as entertaining as it has been. Many drivers up near the front of the standings. As I mentioned before, almost a new driver has won almost every single race except for Malechka, only repeat winner in the series. And if the order remains for the next 19 laps, that should be Andreas Ike adding to that near the top. Looking at Jason Brophy, is under attack by Brian Carey in behind.
It's very likely it's going to be a new winner either way with Fud Lazier back there. I don't believe Andrew Woods won a race so far this season as well. Jason Brophy, Brian Carey back there. Yeah,
I was going to say, actually, we do have a solid contention of getting a new winner regardless, as you mentioned. Yeah, I guess the only repeat winner, I think, is Malechka back in 7th. Yes. Whoa, it's Carey deep to the inside of Brophy. Almost took both of them out. That was a change your racing overalls moment. Let's see what happened here. Not the best angle there. Take a look here from Brian Carey. He was on the push pass. I think was trying to make it work. Ooh, and you can see was on the brakes. He caught the brakes where the car started to slip. That's a terrifying moment when you lose traction. But what that has done, it's brought Alexander Van de Sant to the 3-way battle here for 3rd place for that final step of the podium. And looking at, looks like Craig Forsyth in the 27 car, first driver to make his final pit stop of the race, and just about entering that time here. I think if from now on, if you pit, you can make it to the end of the race. That pit window has opened up. We look at this battle starting to rage on here. Carey close in behind. Van de Sant also that 3rd horse in the race. What are all these guys gonna do here? They're gonna push it too hard. Brophy misses the corner. That's not going to help him. Carey going to catch back up. Working away through these corners. Alexander Van de Sant in behind as well. Take a look at any other close battles. Malechka not quite able to get entirely away from Lexus Newsom, who's keeping him honest. And in behind them, Jacob Oster, Pinheiro. This battle starting to brew here.
Definitely, for sure, a little bit of a battle brewing
here. If you can mind, Connor, if you could bring that a little bit closer to your face.
Trying my best.
There you go. That sounds normal there. You're quiet there for a few seconds, but see Pinheiro. Ooh, both of these guys getting some sand. Off to the right-hand side of the track, flying through that corner, and now going through the carousel, which is getting dirtier and dirtier by lap. There's a black and a red and white car to the side of the road. Oh boy, championship implications for 91 on Malechka. That's some pretty solid damage. I saw a red and white car. I was like, "There's no way." And there you see it right there. Oh, not the best of the camera views, but just lost traction here. We'll try to do an onboard here with Malechka. A little bit sliding on entry here. A little bit too much sand on the middle part. And oh yeah, you can see hard hit to that right front.
That's race ending. Oh my gosh, that is huge for this championship race. I don't think we're making a big enough deal out of this. That is huge for Andreas Ike.
Yeah, we saw him he was probably doing a little happy song and dance when Welker ended up crashing out. He's able to secure himself to being really good contention for the race win with no real competition, and now his main championship competitor out of the race back in 19th. He's not really going to get a whole lot of points, but this man in the 76 car, and if I was him, I would dial it back a little bit. Just do not crash, whatever you do.
go to the end.
No, Ass has to make it. Don't speed, don't do anything crazy, just play by the book and finish out these next 15 laps.
Yeah, just finish this race. I think Indy is 19, so that would bring the points difference just for positions to about 44 points, and then you add up the bonus points, it's down to a 1 point lead.
Yeah, working his way through the corkscrew now. I think he's in behind. Is that Aaron Ruffs? No, that's not Aaron Ruffs. I'm trying to see who that is. It's not Aaron Ruffs. Huh. Ooh, purple and white car. I want to say. Oh, Dan Inch in the number 52. New paint scheme on that car. So I didn't recognize him. Letting the leaders on by. Running in 20th, actually just past Malechka to put himself in 20th place.
Pretty sporty scheme, just unfortunate he's not running a little bit better. He's kind of been near the rear of the field most of the race. Started 25th and took a few spots due to some attrition, 21st place, but on the run he probably would have won.
Trying to see any more action going on. Flynn Lazier come down to pit lane. This top three, now top two battle as pit stops are underway. Brewing with these three. Ooh, Van de Sande getting close to a lap car. That's Wayne Hunter. He's getting on by. We'll move on through, but loses some time.
Ooh, Lexus Newsome had a pretty big moment at the corner before the corkscrew. Almost took herself out of this race.
As we usually expect, corkscrew is nearly the bane of everyone's existence. Works her way on through up into 10th place.
I don't know how you save that. We've seen a pretty good amount of crazy saves so far this race.
Heading onto the front straightaway now. Ooh, big swerve from Jason Brophy trying to hold up Brian Carey as pit stops underway. Both of them on the push to pass, defending from, Brophy defending Carey on the attack. Ooh, you saw a little bit of a lockup from Brophy. Carey trying to find a way he can get on by, but the gap, the door is shut.
Jacob Oster's gone off. He's out of this race as well. He just exited the pit lane. He destroyed that car.
Cold tires, it seems, just really, really killing a lot of cars. Take a look what happened to Oster.
And Aero just came in pit lane.
There you go, coming out of pit lane. This pit exit is really tricky if you're not careful, but actually, oh, I thought it was actually that part. No, it seems like, oh, was this the same thing that happened to Welker here?
I think it's going to be around the
Oh, yeah, around he goes. Same exact spot.
Yeah. The only difference, he didn't overcorrect, but at the end of the day, it didn't matter. You get loose there, it's going to be very hard to miss that wall, that tire barrier right there as the leader's finally in.
Yep, Dre's like in for his pit stop. There you see Brophy and Carey. This can get dicey when you come in nose to tail on pit lane, but they make it work. Here's to see who's going to be the winner and the loser in this situation, or they're going to stay the same.
Have to see here. It's pretty big for the battle because they're going to be on even tires. You want to get out first.
Actually, come to think of it, I think Carey, he can be on the reds. I think Brophy's going to have to go on the blacks, if I'm not mistaken. There you go. There's Carey on the reds, Brophy on black. So this could be Carey's chance to get it, although Brophy does have the advantage of track position. And we saw earlier, Brophy with Flynn Lazier wasn't quite able to get by. So see, can Brophy turn on the tires quick enough to defend from the 79?
Yeah, he's going to really have to drive hard.
Well, he's going to have to wait a few corners. I think we've seen so many guys nail in that corner right there. Welker and Oster, and almost Brian Carey goes a little bit wide. And he's got oh no, and there goes Brophy.
Oh.
Brophy to the side of the track. Does he hit the wall? He does.
Yeah.
Wing damage to the 88.
My goodness. That's got to be suspension damage, too, with a hit like that. That's going to be another race over. The attrition rate just rising in these final 15 laps.
Everyone's trying to push now for the last bit of performance. Remember, I was talking about that black tire is going to be a little bit more slick than the reds. Oh, yeah, and there you see that Rolls didn't just hit the wing, hit the right side. As you mentioned, the suspension damage to him. And like that, Carey didn't really need to put up much of an offense at all. Going to take it from the attrition from Brophy up into 4th place. He will go. Oh, and Shouldn't count this out just yet. Andreas Ike having to go on the black tires, hasn't been on it all race. Flynn Lazier on the reds and closing in quick, 3.5 seconds and dropping.
Wow, that I don't know what happened on pit stops, but Lazier gained a ton of time. I don't know where Ike might have lost that, maybe lap traffic, but the lead basically got cut in half there.
I think maybe a bit of traffic, a bit of tire strategy as well. Lazier's been out on the reds for 3 laps to Andreas Ike's 1. Looking at the pit road delta, Lazier's actually slower in pit lane than Ike by about almost half a second, so he actually lost time down there.
Gotta figure that traffic
And
got in the way
2.3 seconds now. It's closing in significantly. And Ike's stuck in behind Alacrity. So we thought that there wasn't going to be much contention from Lazier, but here he comes. Late race charge at the end of it. This is going to get interesting real quick. If you thought the race was a little lacking, well, I don't think we were watching the same race. And second, it's going to get a lot more interesting here.
Hey, you'll never guess who Flynn Lazier's biggest fan is right now.
Assume the lap. Actually, no, I don't know.
It would be definitely the 91 of Robert Malechka, because it just means less points that he's going to lose in this battle. Malechka's back to 22nd now because of Logan Simmons, Jacob Oster, and others passing him. But this is going to be pretty big. It's a 10-point difference, I believe, if Ike doesn't win this race.
I am definitely know for a fact though that Ike is going to be if push does come to shove, Lazier, I think Ike would be more than happy to let him on by. I don't think he's going to risk it. He's going to try. He's definitely going to fight, but I don't think he's going to push too terribly hard and try to stay on. Ooh.
Oh, no.
I say that, and he just went sliding into the coaster here.
Wow, that.
Ooh.
These guys are trying to wreck at this point. My goodness.
Maybe he's starting to push just a little bit.
I would say so. You have really no choice at the end of this race. If you want to win, he's going to have to push really hard to keep the alternates behind him. Flynn Lazier is flying right now. He's putting up some of the fastest laps, the most consistent fast laps he's put up all race. He ran 3 straight laps of under a minute 8.
Here's the thing, though. I was actually looking here. I was looking at it wrong. I thought both of them had 1 push to pass left. It's actually Ike having 7 push to passes left, and Lazier only 1. So Lazier has been heavy on it, trying to catch up. Ike has a lot more in defense in that respect, so he's been saving them up, but I think it's been a good thing that he's been saving it up. I see Ike work around Den Inch here to put some distance.
Yeah, we'll see if he's able to defend with those push to passes. I just think the tire difference is so big. I don't know how much those are going to really help, especially out of the corners. It might help him down to straights, but if Lazier gets that much of a better run out of a corner, it might be all for nothing.
Getting down to the wire here. Lazier chasing down Ike for the win of this race. We thought Lazier definitely was going to finish in the top 3, but didn't think he had enough for a late race charge. But he's been saving his pace for the end here, slowly working his way up on this last set of pit stops to gain a huge amount of time and up near the front. 8 laps to go at the line.
He did not gain as much. He didn't really gain anything that time, by only 1/100th faster than Andreas Ike right now. So he might have already pushed this stuff. Can't push him too early. He's still got about 8 more laps that he needs to chase down. Like 2 more seconds to get up there.
See Lazier using all of the track, trying to catch up. Pushing to his limit here. Closing laps. Not much. No one really potentially able to attack Lazier from behind. Next car back is Andrew Wood, 12 seconds back in 3rd place. Behind him, Brian Carey in 4th, and 18 seconds back to Adriano Pinheiro. And how about that? Up into 5th. I think this is a lot of has a lot to do with attrition, because a lot of the guys who are running ahead of him, Brophy, Oster, Blechko, Balker, all of them crashed out earlier on. So, and even Vandersen too, back in 14th. Bit surprised here. Oh, he was in his pit stall for 2.5 minutes. I think he might have had an incident too. I think he had to fix the car or something.
Yeah, did not see anything. Really not sure if it was speeding, but the car never really looked in bad shape. Maybe he went out of pit road. I know he did pit for sure, but really no damage was done to the car. He's back out there.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes was spent in pit road, so not sure what happened to the 97, but that's why he's dropped back to 14th. Notably, Malechka back out on the track, I think is trying to take a position from Logan Simmons, the only driver I think he can pass. Oh, sorry, Logan Simmons and Jacob Oster are the only two drivers he can really pass at this point. They're only there's only 2 laps behind them, so just needs to run out there for a little bit and 2 more spots gained. And maybe thinking to yourself, you know, what's the point at this point? Well, points. Are really just trying to minimize the points gap. I mean, hey, if the car is able to and your competitors are not running, free points basically. So he's gonna go out there just trying to minimize the damage, but it's gonna be a lot of damage. Where's Phil Swift when you need him? Because Ike is gonna make a huge dent in that points lead here, even if Flynn Lazier gets past him. Although now he's caught up to a second.
Yeah, that's a big catch-up right now. That would be 2 points from Electrica, by the way. But those points are going to be big by the time this rolls over to Indy.
We saw in real life Formula One, they went tied into the last race. So every little point's going to count here and there. You never know when it's going to matter up until the end of the season when the points are tallied up. Flynn Lazier effectively is caught up to Ike. This is the trouble spot for him, though. He's in that dirty air. And we mentioned, too, even if he does get surpassed with better tires, although we do think he's been pushing them arguably too hard. Those push passes, I think, are going to come into use, especially on that front straightaway, because Lazier is, I mean, you can slipstream all you want, but that extra boost in horsepower is going to be tough to overcome.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult to do really anything once he's in this dirty air. Craig Forsyth, is 7th place, is the next car that Ike would catch up to. And if Ike's in that dirty air for a little bit longer, if they catch up to that 27 car, that could help Lazier out a little bit, but with the push to passes that Ike has, I don't know if that would be enough.
Craig Forsyth, I haven't really talked a whole lot out of him. There he is running down the front straightaway, entering turn 1, running 7th after qualifying in 13th. So decent day for the 27 car. But there he is on the track, and there is Ike. So a couple of seconds of separation, but should probably catch him by the end of the race.
Bit of a lockup from Ike there.
Yeah, no other close battles on the track. This is the closest battle, and for the lead, I guess really getting your money's worth, like if anyone was actually paying to watch this.
I don't know who you're paying then. You're not paying Kyle or me.
SimTV is going to pay for pay-per-view from now on. See how that goes.
Yeah, I don't think we'd sustain for much longer, but you can give it a shot. Why not?
Ooh, every time these guys dip a tire, I get nervous.
Yeah, especially with how much dirt and dust is on every part of the track, it seems. It just gets more and more of a risk, especially in that corkscrew. Both ends of that corkscrew have a lot of dirt in it.
Lazier stabilized at around 0.8 of a second in behind Ike, chasing him down. Gonna be 4 laps to go at the line. Getting really squirrely on the tires. Jack's a bit on the hot side. I haven't really talked about the weather. I brought it up a few times, the Get graphic a few times. Never had the chance to really talk about it. Bit 91 on the track for most of the race. Sun's been kind of going in and out, so imagine a little bit of fluctuation, but we'll take a look at it quickly here. Saw it a few laps ago, 94 after some pretty solid sunlight beating down on it, so it's getting slick. Not really going to be farewell for Lazier. You see him sliding around on the red tires, so I imagine he's pushed. So you got to be careful because those tires are only going to get worse.
Yeah, the only drawback, well, not the only drawback, the only good thing is that he's got no one to compete with for the position that he's in right now. It's another 15 seconds back to Andrew Wood, who's been stabilized in the 3rd position for quite some time now.
Up into the corkscrew yet again for Ike, working his way on through. I imagine his heart's pounding at the moment. If he can secure this, a solid points gain, and if nothing else, a win that is probably long overdue for the 76 car.
Oh my goodness! He really thought that was it. Oh my gosh!
See, I saved it to the end. I thought.
Stop talking. No, it's not the end. There's 3 laps to go, and you almost just spun him out. Oh my gosh, that was close. He is still pushing himself right now. Locks up again. Lazier's still trying to do anything he can, but the dirty air is just might be too much to overcome at this point. They're running identical times the past 3 laps.
Yeah, Ike has been using some push pass just to keep that distance as much as possible. He's got 4 left. Using them sparingly and where he needs to, knowing that at any time, if he makes that one little mistake, Lazier is going to be on his rear wing, and if not next to him. And for Lazier, I don't really think there's much else he can do except just pile on a lot of pressure on the 76 and hope he makes a mistake. I mean, we saw there a little bit of a slip out of that final corner. It could have went spinning off into the right.
Yeah, that could have been huge for sure. I don't think he's just not gaining enough at this point. He needs 2 really big gains these last 2 laps, and maybe probably a mistake for Mike or dirty air, but I don't think they're going to get to Craig Forsyth.
2 laps to go for the leaders. Again, actually I shouldn't say no real close, but other close battles. Matt Houston and Alexander Van Nissen duking out for 11th place here, but definitely going to keep an eye on our leaders here.
He's really sliding into these corners. He is sliding into every corner, Ike is. He is giving it everything he's got right now.
And don't blame him, just trying to keep that gap and manage it. Although he has to not fall in for that pressure that Lazira is mounting on him. That's really what that 3 car is waiting on. A slip up, a mistake. That's all it's going to take. Oof. There's the gap still. Corkscrew once again. A lot of mistakes being made down in this section of track. Both leaders will work their way on through. Getting close to the end here. White flag in the air for Andreas Ike. Flynn Lazier chasing him down. Can Ike hold on one more lap? He's been leading for majority of the race, has led most of the laps. And almost a flawless effort up in the front. He's got to make it around one more circuit. Lazier charging in hard, using everything he's got out of those reds.
Still a battle on the podium. Andrew Wood's kind of been closed in by Brian Carey, but the same situation, carrying that dirty air. Not sure how much he can do to the end.
Keep tabs on this, try to keep tabs on this, but back up in front for the leaders. Like half a lap away. Can he make it on through? We've seen the corkscrew coming up, a lap car ahead as well. He's just got to hope there's no car facing the wrong direction. You've seen crazy things happen in this series, so you can never quite count it out. Here they go into the corkscrew for the final time for our leaders. Andreas Ike will make it on through. 3 more corners left for Ike in the 76 car. It's been almost 2 years since he got his last win at Kentucky. We thought last time that we were at Kentucky this season, it might have been his shot, but as he rounds out of the final corner, he's going to be a happy man. He finally gets to see victory lane. Andreas Ike will win here at Laguna Seca, and almost, I wouldn't say he's going to take back the points lead, but he's going to be very close to doing so.
Battle for the podium. Brian Carey got so close to the rear of Andrew Wood in the corkscrew, but couldn't make it work. Excuse me. Wood's going to be able to round out the podium right in front of Carey. Aero's 20 seconds behind for 5th place, though. Yeah,
only 7 cars on the lead lap, too, just showing how much attrition and how much the pace difference is around here. But how about him? Over-under day for him. We were talking about driver of the day last week in Milwaukee. I guess you might as well almost want to throw it to him, if not Andreas Ike up at the top after him working down, up, down, and then back up again through the order. Solid 5th place for the 56 machine. But Andreas Ike coming through the corkscrew, and now I'm glad I can finally actually talk about him without having to worry about him spitting out.
Oh, by the way, if my math is correct, maybe it's not, I wouldn't be surprised, but I feel like he got max points. I believe he got pole, most laps led, and obviously a lap led, 64
he did get
points.
he did get max points.
And Malechka did not lead a lap today, so that would give him 15 points. You know, do the difference. That's 49 points. And what was the difference between these two
49.
going into today? 49 points. These guys might be tied after all this season. The gap Malechka build up, it's down to 0, potentially.
Yeah, I mean, it's a few races early, but I mean, hey, I guess we'll take what we can get here. And having a great championship fight between both of them, starting to come to a head. But we'll go through your race results here really quickly. Again, Andreas Ike taking home a solid win in the 76. Long time coming for him. Flynn Lazier in a solid 2nd place, who came pretty much out of nowhere. And ended up finishing, almost taking home the win there, but wasn't able to get it done. Andrew Wood a little bit further back, solid 3rd for him. We saw Brian Carey with a late race charge in the 79. Canadian wasn't able to get it done. Pinheiro with a great climb forward from the back of the field up into 5th. Will find himself there. And then Alexis Newsom, Craig Forsyth, and Chris Stouffer, quiet days for those 3, working their way up silently inside the top 10 with Alexander Bull and Joe Branch running out your top 10.
You see all those guys up there, drivers who started outside the top 10, were able to sort of battle the attrition and get their way up there to the top 10, so very good efforts from them. And then going to the next page, 11th to 20th, this is where we see a lot of the guys who just couldn't survive this race for the most part. Jason Brophy with his incident, Robert Malechka as well, a huge incident that might have changed the balance of this championship race back there in 20th. Got 2 positions there to at least stay with a tie for the points lead, potentially. They understand had some issues as well. Marshall Stanley to 13th. He was quiet all day. He got pretty far up the order as well. But a lot of guys here at the back who were running well, but just could not survive the entire 50-lap race.
I think Matt Halb also might have run into some trouble as he drifted back into 14th. I think probably should have been a little bit higher. Not sure if anything happened to the 0-2. Aaron Ross, Wayne Hunter, Jason Brophy. We saw off-track excursion for him, as well as Robert Malechka. Malechka was able to climb back up into 20th, and we were talking about it with him finishing in 20th. It's going to be almost tied for them, so that's where those points going to matter. Going on to the next page of results, we find Jacob Oster and most of pretty much everyone here on retired out of the race. We saw Jacob Oster, Mitch Welker, as well as Malechka and Brophy all make excursions off track as they're running so well, but the cold tires catching them out. With that, they'll catch a word with Andrew Wood here, who's joined us in the booth. Andrew, not exactly up near the front for most of the day. We're definitely trying to keep touch with the leaders, but solid battle, especially towards the end for third.
Yeah, qualifying was a bit of a disappointment. Kind of had a undecided idea of what I wanted to do for the tire strategy. Jason was telling me to try blacks because everyone else around me had blacks, but yeah, I didn't want to run the blacks right away because I hadn't practiced too much on them, and I didn't want to go into turn 1 with an in a situation where I didn't know what was going to happen. So I decided to go reds, and I saw that Jacob was ahead of me on red, so I knew that he was probably going to be making the holes on the guys with the black tires ahead of me. So yeah, the race kind of played out in my favor yet again. Poor qualifying this time, but my pace on the blacks was substantial in that middle stint. I had Jason behind me on the reds, and I had told him when he gets up to me, I was going to return the favor for when he let me by in the first stint. But he never got there. And yeah, I ran my fastest lap of the race on blacks too. So just kind of a weird sort of race for me. My focus again was just to bring the car home at a good pace. Brian definitely gave me run point money at the end there, and I felt like I had a little bit of pressure, but it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, really solid run for you despite everything. I also wanted to ask you too, because we saw a lot of attrition, especially from some of the front runners. How was it on the cold tires? Because it looked like it was a handful.
Yeah, the cold tires were pretty bad. The temperature, the track temp for this race definitely was a little colder than we had all practice on, so probably caught a lot of people out, especially those black tires. It took much longer to get the heat into them. So, I knew that I just kind of had to bide my time on the blacks, especially. Even the reds were pretty tough to get heated up right away. Was playing with my roll bars a bit, trying to get some roll into the car, especially on the colder tires, and it seemed to work for me. But it was all about really just not pushing it, just kind of understanding where you are on the track and trying to make make the car work for you and not let the car spin you around, which had happened to quite a few people. So yeah, it was a little unfortunate for those guys, but I managed to work my way through it.
I was gonna say it was, they were the ones that ended up losing out, but for you, gave you a solid chance of getting a top 3 here, Andrew. Glad for you talking to us. Good luck for you the rest of the rounds in the season. Yeah,
sadly, I won't be around next week for Texas, so yeah, if that hurts me a little bit in the championship.
I would say if there's any round to miss, probably the best round to miss, because I despise New Texas with a passion.
You know what, Finian? I say that to everyone I know here, and everyone said it's great, and I disagree with them wholeheartedly, so thank you for being on my side there.
I'm surprised. I just can't stand it compared to what we had before, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Or you, I guess. But regardless, Fortunately, we're going to see you next week, Andrew, but again, for the rest of the season, good luck to you.
Yep. Hopefully we'll see you again for the rest of the season.
Indeed. And with that, I don't know if we can get a hold of Ike or Lazier here. But I think we might run out of interviews for tonight. And with that, Connor, solid race nonetheless. I mean, it's fantastic stuff. If anything, it was amazing to see the gap between Malechka and Ike come next to zero. Again, still waiting on the final results. Actually, we'll see here. Joe Branch, Lee Gavin, very good at getting the results uploaded very quickly. And look at that. I should give you 100 on your math test because you got it right. Andreas Lyke and Malechka are tied going to the last four rounds of the season. If you want to see this championship drama unfold, it's far from over between both these guys now, with wins, both of which with wins to their name. Looking at the rest of the season, so next week we heading to Texas on the 13th, and right after, I think a week break after that at Gateway. Then at Long Beach on April 3rd, and the Indy 500 for these guys. It's not 500 kilometers. We are doing the full 200 laps, 500 miles of Indianapolis on the 24th of April. Can't wait to see that event get underway. Always a great event for these guys, and always putting on a fantastic show. This championship battle, one of the best we've had. We've seen Blocker and Kraus, another notable battle between two Titans in this series, and starting to see one yet again.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That battle last year, Blocker and Kraus, was so fun. To the very end, came down to the final race with an incident early, sort of altering that championship battle. This one pretty much promises to be the same exact thing. Championship battles in the open wheel cars coming down to the final race. Could have expected that at this point. It seems like every open wheel championship comes down to the final race, so this one might not be any different.
I definitely hope not, because it's been exciting so far. But with that, we'll be calling it a night. My name is Finicuna here with Connor Horn. We'll be signing out here from Laguna Seca. Have a good night.